Welcome to BPTV. I'm your host Andy Amrite, and this is another Around Town. And today, dead and buried treasures is our topic. How about we take a trip back before dead and buried treasures? Why don't we start with your youth, when you were a little tight? Where'd you grow up?
When I was a wee pirate.
Grade school, yeah, when you were a wee pirate.
Grew up in the Star Wars era. So I would set up my figures on the porch out there, in poses like firing lasers or whatever. And then I got into special effects with it. I'd take yarn and I'd coat it with rubber cement. Mm-hmm. And I'd tie them from the lasers to the stormtrooper. I'd light it on fire so it looked like a laser.
Wow.
Took a picture of it,
All with the Polaroid.
All with the Polaroid. So I was that kind of a guy. I really thought I wanted to make movies and do stuff like that and be a director. So that was when I was a wee pirate. And then, I ended up going to school and I was writing scripts. Okay. I would write things that you could never see happen necessarily, like Star Trek meets Battlestar Galactica, and what would happen. And I was drawing comic books that I truly believe comic books are storyboards.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so I was doing all this, and my dad's like writing all these in high school, when I was in elementary school and growing up. And then when college came, he says, "It's time to make a decision on a college. Where do you want to go?" I said, "I don't know." I don't know that much about college. It was a different world then. So we ended up looking at different universities in the area, and we ended up going to California University of Pennsylvania. When I went to the cafeteria, I can't believe I'm saying this, they had movie posters up everywhere. I mean, Empire Strikes Back, Jaws, you name it, they're all up. I said, "I want to go here." He goes, "Well, because you're basing your decision on movie." I said, yeah, that's what I want to do. So I ended up going to California University, getting my bachelor's, and I was making some movies for my bachelor's.
And that's what you studied in college?
Communications, yeah,
okay.
TV and film. And I was making movies, and we were doing like little shorts and everything. And then I went into grad school at same college.
Okay.
And that's when all the magic happened for me. I got my assistantship to pay for my graduate school at the television station down there, which I didn't even know they had one. I was there for 4 years. What kept me together with people and getting to know people, which is what my degree is in communication. Television, like live television. So it went from sports, then we ended up doing plays, we ended up doing graduation, all that kind of stuff. Getting my master's, my advisor says to me, "I want you to direct a movie." And I said, "Okay, but I'm going to write it. I want to do it. It's going to be feature length. No pressure."
Wow. Yeah.
She says, "I'm going to adapt it from an Ambrose Bierce classic. It's a ghost story called The Middle Toe of the Right Foot." And I said, "Okay, let's give it a shot."
The reviews are in and the critics agree. The Middle Toe of the Right Foot is an excellent suspense yarn.
How could you do that, man? How could you? You locked me in the house with that maniac!
Not just any student movie, but a cinema fantastic.
But it won a couple of awards. At the Cineview Film and Video Festival in Washington, D.C. There was another Cineview Film Festival in Orlando, Florida.
And these are national awards.
These are national awards, yeah. So while I was doing graduate school stuff and producing live sporting events and maintaining kind of a social life, I also started working on movies that were being made in Pittsburgh. Hoffa, Silence of the Lambs, RoboCop, Sudden Death with Jean-Claude, where they had the helicopter fall inside the Civic Arena. Striking Distance, where Bruce Willis is in the river and he spits it out and says, "Hey, Pittsburgh, you need clean water." All this stuff on these interview shows. I worked on all of them just while I was all in college. So I ended up just being a college professor because after I got my master's, I ended up getting hired by the university to maintain the television station down there. And we did all these wonderful shows down there. We worked with Fiore Mastracci quite a bit. He was shooting a show down there. He was shooting at BPTV. He was Outtakes with Fiore at the time. I think it's Outtakes with Rex Real now, right? So we were working with him. We did a news broadcast. We did coaching shows to cover the sports, like preview and post game shows. We were doing another show called Pride and Progress, was stories of Fayette County. We were doing all kinds of stuff where, while I was there tenured, we received a nomination for the best college television station in the country. And I said, oh, this is kind of cool. I said, we got to win this. I said, what could we do? And we're just making more shows. He said, just keep making shows. So we kept making, and we won. So when we won the award, I felt like I'm the coach of the best damn TV station in the country, and so it was
Should be proud of it.
I was. In fact, we had an award show we would do every year, like the Oscars, that gave students a lot of more experience in live TV, working with cameras, dealing with problems, dealing with attitudes, egos, and I'm all at the heart of it, trying to keep them all on pace. And then I ended up leaving there to become an actual, like I was an administrator there at the time.
Okay.
But I wanted to become a college professor, so I needed some experience. So I ended up going to Bloomsburg University, and I taught there for a year. And then I ended up going to Clarion University, and I taught there for a year. So then I said, I'm going to go a little bit further and get my doctorate in communication and information systems. So I went back to Robert Morris. I went to Robert Morris to go there to get my doctorate. And after that, I moved to Maryland in around 2007 or so. Taught at the College of Southern Maryland for a couple years. Made a TV station for them from scratch. So I went to Cincinnati. I worked there for 5 years, and I'm still working on some movies. Like I worked on The Dark Knight Rises. I worked on part of the Avengers they shot in Cincinnati with the bridge scene in the very first Avengers movie. So I'm still doing that. I'm kind of playing by day, playing by night, teaching and everything. And then my dad got sick, and he wasn't getting any better. So I moved closer to home, and I ended up teaching at Bethany.
Okay.
And so this was just maybe 2014, 15. At Bethany College, I won Faculty of the Year. We did that and then won a couple of Telly Awards, and then I started another movie review show. That's once everything. It seemed like everything I was touching was like gold.
Working.
And it was working. And the students were all getting jobs out of it. And that made me so happy as a teacher.
Yep.
I don't have any kids. So my college students were my kids, And they're doing all these things. They're getting jobs. And I got one who works at NBC Broadcasting in New York. She's a producer up there. I got one that's in Washington, D.C., in Boston. Down in Boston, hosting the #1 news program in the country, regional television. I got people who've worked on movies. So all this stuff is working. And I'm like, this is great. If you look around me with the posters and everything, all the posters around me are from stuff I've done with students. There was one other last thing I wanted to mention that helped. I worked on a TV show when I was at Cal U that I developed. It was called In Neon. And we made a college soap opera. It was 15 one-hour episodes. It was I called it a dramedy because it was comedic. It was dramatic tones with comedic undertones.
Someone once said that the friends you make in college are the ones that will last a lifetime. If that's true, I guess I certainly made a lifetime of friendships.
And we swept all kinds of awards. We got 2 Emmy nominations and Telly Awards and like awards like this. Like these kind of awards. And these are weighty.
Mm-hmm.
Feel how much
Nice
that weighs.
award.
And we were doing all these wonderful things. And I said, things are paying off. And this happened just about 2019. My niece says to me, and I think I told you guys outside before we started the show today, and she says, she's all naive and like 10, but man, and a child shall lead, right? She goes, don't you get tired of making other people famous? And I was like,
A little light bulb went off.
oh man, I mean, talk about a kick in the, and I'm like, yeah. And I never, because here I am doing all these things for everybody. They're all out getting all the accolades and the good jobs and everything. Not that my job wasn't good. I had benefits from being a college professor.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, I'm going to do a little something for me that I started. So I contacted Dave Cable at BPTV. And he was so welcoming, and I said, can I do something at the TV? He said, yeah.
And you knew Dave before?
I knew Dave because my connection with Fiore. Mastra-
There you go.
and
Yep,
because he was at
absolutely.
Cal U getting a
Yep.
degree, and so he introduced me to Dave, and they would do stuff up here and they do stuff down there. I said, could we do a horror show?
Something.
Something like, he said, oh yeah, why not? I
Dave's
said,
open for anything.
he is, and he was so accommodating and so welcoming, and I was like, I told him I want to do like a pirate, and that's because I had bought a costume and I won a Best Costume Award at the Renaissance Festival. So I kept the costume, started green screening and doing some shots, and we did a Christmas show first, where I was because it was December of 19. Ho, 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 me hearties, and then I said, all right, and he liked it, and well, that's so he said.
Yeah. I'll believe him.
Right. So
Dave
then,
likes corny stuff.
right. He's like, if it was cheese, you're the king of the mice, and so then I said, well, let's see if we can do maybe, as naive as I was, we'll do a weekly show. Yeah, that
Yeah.
lasted about 5 minutes because I was like, ugh, it's so much work.
It's a lot of work.
And then we did one for January. And I don't know how I did it in that first year, man, but I cranked out like one a month.
Well, how about if we take the camera around and show them some of your costumes in your green room and a few other
Oh,
things?
yeah, perhaps I should give you a little tour if you want. It's
Excellent.
fun stuff.
Don't miss the absolute worst in monster movie mayhem on Dead and Buried Treasures.
Captain, we should be recording this.
It all starts with scripting. So when I write a script, I have to write it in PowerPoint because I don't write it in Word. I'd rather see it as I'm going to write it on a page because ultimately I'm going to use the PowerPoint as my teleprompter. So whenever I write it here, I don't know if you can see this or not, I'll come up with what I call a treatment first. And I'll have like 8 key points on an episode. Like this is going to happen in the first segment. This will happen in the second segment. Third segment, fourth, all the way to the 8th. The 8th is the end credits where I have to do the goodnight. And the first one is the welcome. So those two are never change. Welcome, good night. So the 6 segments in between have to try to tell some kind of story. And it's much better when you do it by having a movie to host because that way you can have that story unfold. If you watch it all just the segments only, you're going to go, it doesn't really quite work that way. But if you have it naturally broken up by other segments, it's kind of nice to come back in 20 minutes and say, oh, that's where we last left our heroes, So I'll write like a treatment, and that's what you're seeing here in green. And then I'll write, okay, segment 1. Then I have to take that treatment and turn it into a script. And the script can go on, that's like my welcome to the show. I'll say, a good evening, my fiends, and welcome once again to another nail-biting episode of Dead and Buried Treasures. And you script all that. And then I color code it because when you're shooting it, you want it to go fast. So anything yellow is Jack. And in fact, I don't think I have a color code thing on this one. I do not. But yellow is Jack. Davy Bones is generally blue. Yes. And then I have the guests vary. Professor Gertie is generally in green. Reggie's in purple. So I can remember this. So I'm color coding all of this. This is when we hosted a Hangar 18, for example. And what I'll do is when I get it all written in a big PowerPoint form, I will then turn it into this big. And what I have to do, because just money purposes, I have it sit right next to the camera lens. So if this is the camera, it's like right next to it, So it gives the illusion that I'm looking somewhat at the camera. In fact, I can pull it off pretty well, but I keep forgetting to do this. I tilt my head this way. When I look this way, I'm not looking in the camera lens at all, although it probably looks like I am, but I'm looking just off to the left of it, because if I do it this way, you can tell I'm not. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'll read the whole script as it generates, and I'll have everybody says, what's that thing in your hand during the show when you're doing, I said, that's me doing this, changing the pages. You know what I mean? Because it'll go on and say, I like superhero movies. I captured interviews with Paul Rudd, Evangeline, and I have to turn this as I go. As I'm reading it as the one-man band. Mm-hmm. Because as much as I like to make sure my cast and crew are also included in my endeavors, technically it's me in makeup doing this kind of thing. For my purposes here at the house, I have to do it by myself. But I try to get everybody else a good scene. I want everybody to have good scene. I don't want people just to be on the show just to be on the show. And I don't think they want to be on the show just to be on the show either. I think they want to have, if they're going to do it, they want to have a reason to do it right. So I like to take care of my cast and crew. And I also try to take care of the viewer, because if the viewer doesn't want to watch it, they're not going to watch it. But I'm kind of happy to find out that, like, with some of the awards we've won and the method to my madness, I feel like it's just kind of neat to have fun at making Hollywood with people. And it's almost like I'm doing it with adults who, like myself, never grew up.
Marabella, you've known me for years. Years? Does that mean nothing to you?
You're a pirate.
Oh.
Back before I had the idea of doing the green screen, I thought I could do it from like the bowels of a pirate ship. Now, I was blessed with a very nice house. My dad built this house. It's where
Absolutely
you can see a lot
astounding.
but the wood goes this way, almost like wooden planks in the bowels of a ship.
ship?
In fact, I
Nice.
just shot an episode or two, like in the long hallway out here, where when you shoot it, and you take everything else down, the pictures and whatnot, it looks like you're in the bowels of a pirate ship.
Okay.
So I got the green screen. It's portable. It's the kind you can fold up and put in a little, and I use this. I don't shoot any more than like my waist up, just because it's convenient and I don't have the pullback here.
Right.
And we can change any background. And Dave said we could do this. I'm going to say, look at this. Huh? Fun stuff,
Pretty
right?
easy.
Yeah, so all of a sudden I could be on a pirate ship. Or I could be on the moon. I can shoot just about anything with the green screen, because it just kind of, you do some special effect in the camera and boom, there you are. But everything in this room is props. This is my little studio, and it's not really that big, but it does
but
the
it's
job.
nice.
This
It's
is
full.
my little clackboard. I'm like, I have to do this. I'll hold it up and say, all right, this is segment 3A, middle toe of the right foot, and I say it all over every single segment I start. I do 8 segments in a 3-hour period and the movie, because when I'm whizzing through it on the tape,
Right. You need to know
you
where
gotta
you
know
are.
where the hell I'm at.
That's it.
I might end up shooting it
Quickly
out of
just,
order.
right, just
So
blends.
that's why I do it like that. And then I have props too. I'll bring on the show, like this is. I know people who always wanted to meet Jack. So this is Jack. Now Jack is a little rambunctious, but he knows what showtime is.
Nice.
And this was way. This was just a little device I bought at a Target, at a toy aisle, and I added the patch and the so he's a little, and I can put him on demo. So if I take him to a convention, he just does songs. So I'll leave him alone, like over on the, like I'll be signing autographs or something at a convention or something. And they'll all, can I have a picture of Jack too? Yeah, come on, we'll get a picture with Jack. And he's just a great little guy to have, and
He works for peanuts.
now literally. And he's designed so you can press his nose and he'll say things. Or, because he's a child toy, you could pet him. He also mimics me.
Nice.
But that's the nice thing about it too, because he became part of my cast, and he's just a wonder. Now the thing is, he's not going to say everything you want him to say, so
No.
I have to do all the voices of Jack. See if I can do it. I speed up the tape when I do it. It's like,
Good morning, Captain!
but I have to speed up the tape a little bit so it sounds like more Birdie, And then Davy Bones, I have to do all the voices for him.
Right, but would you get on a ship called the Titanic? Too?
Not hardly. I have enough problems with the one I'm on.
I wanted to talk to somebody else that was actually in the show, so I thought, what better person than you? So tell me what it's like to be in these shows.
Oh, I can't stand Captain Drake sometimes.
I understand.
I just want to shove him overboard. He sometimes gets on my nerves. Like the other day, I was getting a piece of cheesecake, just cheesecake from the galley, and he walked in and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Bones. I ate it already." Ugh, the things I have to put up with in television.
I can't believe you haven't thrown him overboard yet.
Well, he's pretty big,
Okay.
so I have to make it look like an accident. Oh wait, are we on TV?
No, I don't think. Are we?
I can't reveal all my secrets.
Well, Eric, there's a lot that goes into making this show, from
Obviously.
hats to costumes to
yeah.
props to baby powder. So walk us through some of this. I mean, this isn't just you snap your finger and you're in costume.
Although a lot of my students would think that you're wrong. They
Okay.
think like Hollywood is like, oh,
That's
well,
it.
everybody caters to you, right?
That's it.
So, no, it's a lot of work, and I'm appreciative that when I deal with professionals, you get it, Dave gets it, everybody gets it. For example, this is Calico Drake's heavy coat, and I got this, believe it or not, and I put it together in certain areas from just a spirit store.
Okay.
You know, Hollywood a clearance store. So my guns and everything would go there. So that was very simple. And I'm like, I don't like any of their hats. Most of their hats are like this, you know, like kitty-fied. So I went to the Renaissance Festival,
Right?
and I got one of these made specifically for the show. So this is a period piece, and it just happens to match fairly well.
It does.
You know? And that allows me to be Calico Drake, you know? So it kind of brought the whole thing together with the feathered. I wanted something like, most people said to me, why don't you do like something like Jack Sparrow? I said, because everybody does Jack Sparrow. I want to do like Barbossa. So, and then you have to put yourself together. I know it sounds easy, but you have to put, it takes me probably about half hour to get in costume. And if you don't do it right, you could spend quite a bit of time doing makeup and costuming. So the bronzer, the baby powder, all the makeup, all the wardrobe, the jacket, everything you have to put on a certain way, and it's all done for a specific reason. And if you go out on location, that all changes, because now you have a different sword that has to go on a frog that I never wear with the weapons, so you look like a pirate when you're in a parade or at a convention or something.
Well, I mean, I love seeing all this stuff, and I can't believe how intense it is for you to make these shows itself.
Yeah, I can't.
And,
there's a lot of stories that I haven't even touched on that I could just tell you that, you know, one time I'm shooting here and all of a sudden I blew out the fuses downstairs. Now in makeup I had to go downstairs and fix all the fuses, and you have to, and I'm also connected, by the way, with a microphone.
With the microphone.
I walked out and the camera does one of these and I'm like, oh, you know, and I have to put it. You have to disconnect, and there's a lot of bloopers on the show that have gone on with the actors and myself. One time, I'm just standing here, ahoy, mateys, you know, da 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 da, and the green screen falls to the ground. You know, it's just like, ugh. And then you have to put it back up, and you're in makeup
While
and
you're in
everything,
costume.
and it's like, so it really is the love of the art. But it's a nice payoff if I can get it done right. When you put the whole show together, it's a lot more than just firing up a computer. The writing takes me weeks to do a really good show. So, you know, it's a matter of perspective. What can you do? What can you do with limits? If you're having an idea, can you do it? How can I get around it if you really want to do something? And the green screen hides a lot. And I've just been blessed with a multitude of different cast members and things around me that can get things done.
Come with me to the grave.
Are you anywhere near the Buffalo Wild Wings? Then I still to this day have no idea this happened. Dave Cable calls me and says, hey, would you come in and do a little promo for me? This is one of the few times, it takes a lot to get the wool pulled over my eyes. But he did it. He goes, will you do a little promo for me? Yeah. I says, all right. He says, can I come into the studio? This is, COVID's like, you know, winding down now. We're like still keeping our distance, but like at least we're in the same room now.
You're in the room just not hugging each other.
Right. He says, can you look at this camera and say something like, I've worked in television for a number of years. I've taught television at different colleges for a number of years. I've had so much fun in being creative. And I'll never forget what a neighbor of mine once said, and he was a CEO of a company. And he said, Eric, would you rather make $100,000 a year and dread going to your job? Or would you rather make half of that and love doing what you do? And I
would never hesitate. It would always be the latter. I like to have a stress-free life, and doing the show like that is just a lot of fun for me. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. So thank you on behalf of the Greater Pittsburgh Community Media Awards for the award, and I look to producing some new programming that will reflect just that. Thanks again.
This is the award we won. I don't know if you can see that with all, this might be a little too busy behind here, but it's a see-through, and it's the Greater Pittsburgh Community Media Award for entertainment.
Yeah.
And we won it during COVID. And I thought, that's pretty
impressive.
Yeah, I mean, just for being, you know, how we put it all together. And that one led to another one. I won Best Host on the Vortex Television Network, which is dedicated to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of horror host programming.
It's time to announce the winner of the Vortex Golden Turkey Award for 2021. Captain Calico Drake and his crew with Dead and Buried Treasures. Congratulations, Drake! A Dead and Buried Treasures 24-hour marathon is your prize, and it begins now.
So we were winning some awards. I'd win like a little monthly award, like, you know, best show here, or best show here through BPTV, and it was continuing to mount up. And then somebody said there's these things called the Rondos. And the Rondo Awards...
I'm not familiar with that one.
It's the Oscars for horror.
Horror industry.
And sci-fi. And
yeah,
I said...
It's a pretty big industry.
I know. Scream, Halloween, just last year. Megan, Cocaine Bear. I mean, so I got on the same ballot.
You're up against Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, Elvira. Okay, she's big in horror hosting. Joe Bob Briggs. You remember Mystery Science Theater?
Yep.
Joe Bob Briggs. Sven Gulli, who's
the
on
one I was thinking of.
Right, with the top hat and the with the chicken, and so all of this stuff. And I said, "There's no way we're gonna."
It's nice to be nominated.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
Jennifer. On it, it's
Thanks.
nice to be
That's
nominated.
nice.
That's all I was going to say about it. And then the results came out, and it's pretty much what I expected. Sven Gulli walked away with
number one.
Number two was Elvira. Number three was Joe Bob Briggs. And I said, there it is. There's your national three. And then they came with the honorable mentions, of which that was us.
Wow.
And I was like, that ain't so bad.
It's
you know, I
millions
mean,
of votes.
I don't mind finishing fourth
to those three.
Yeah. It's kind of like being a quarterback from Bethel Park High School going up against Ben Roethlisberger, Joe Burrow, and, you know, you name, you know what I mean? And then and then finishing right under them.
You know, I thought it looked a little different tonight. I mean, generally, Captain Drake gets us all into some type of long-winded trouble that, quite frankly, is his fault in the first place.
Hey! Not all the time. And by the way, if it weren't for those long-winded problems, we wouldn't have won the awards we have or gotten the recognition.
I think, sir, it's despite those long-winded remarks that we have won awards in the first place. I mean, wait, you're not Captain Drake.
No, I'm Eric. I created the show.
Oh, so you're the one to blame.
I really do appreciate you taking the time this afternoon to share your story with us.
Absolutely.
We like to hear what goes on behind the pirate scenes.
Oh, by the way, hold on with this for just 1 second. Would you like a candy bar on your way out?
Sure,
I thought
absolutely.
maybe you could use a little something for your ride. Here's a candy bar for you. That's a Nestle Crunch bar.
That's it. I'm hungry.
Don't
I
eat
could
it all
do
the way home.
I could do it. I can do it. So.
I gotta watch my crime fighting physique too.
Yeah, I'll just hold it right here. But anyhow, thank you for watching BPTV. I'm your host, Andy Amrine, and we'll see you around town soon.